Ooh. Yo, fill the room with the juice. That's a lot of loot. That
What is up with the YouTube? Back at it again with another banger video. It is another horror story animation compilation, but this one is by a whole different person. I am our Scary Tales, and I have watched a couple of videos before, and bro, when I say these things are legit scary as a mug, bro. These videos literally had me shook last time. And like, I literally been watching these videos, just watch these videos at this point. And it can be in the middle of the day. I'm not even doing it for reaction anymore. I'm just watching videos. And I just said, I got free time right now. I'm probably not going to be having that much free time because I do start my job on Monday. So I do want to try to get as much content out as possible. So if you like this and y'all want me to keep going, please hit the like in the description below. And I will try to drop at least one more video this week. I have dropped 2 videos this week, actually. But let's get right into this.
A few months ago, my friend Yoko and I went to a girl's house for a sleepover. I didn't know the girl very well. Her name was Emmy, and she was a friend of Yoko's. They went to the same school when they were kids. Emmy was a strange girl. She was very quiet and seldom said anything. Her parents went out for the night, and we were left alone in the house. We got changed into our pajamas and sat around trying to tell each other ghost stories. The problem was, we didn't know very many, and the few ones that we did know were kind of lame. All of a sudden, Emmy perked up. "I know a good website," she said. She opened up her laptop and clicked on one of the bookmarks. We gathered around her and looked at the website. It had a lot of scary stories from all over the world, including Japan. Emmy scrolled down the page.
So you telling me someone who just got straight up scary stories ready on their laptop, on their bookmark, don't give y'all weird vibes? Yep.
While we stared into the screen, Yoko pointed to one of the stories. "What's this one?" she asked. For a moment, Emmy's face changed to a serious frown. "You're not supposed to read that one," she said. "It's dangerous." "This whole website is creepy," I said. "Is this supposed to be for kids?" "No," Emmy replied in a serious tone. "It's definitely not for kids. Some of the stories in games are really dangerous, like this one." She clicked on the link for one story. It seemed really strange. There was a picture of a woman with long dark hair, but her face was disturbing. Made me sick to look at it. And the text below said the person who wrote the story is not human. "You're not supposed to listen to this story," said Amy. "So let's not listen," replied Yoko. "Yeah,
Bro, my heart
let's
is
just go to
beating
bed,"
fast
I said.
already.
I had a strange feeling about this website. I mean, where did they get all these weird stories from? And why did they collect them together? Who would even make a site like this? There's something very unsettling about the whole thing. But Amy didn't take any notice of us. She pressed play on the video and we heard the start of the story.
How you gonna say this story dangerous? How you gonna tell them we shouldn't watch this one? It's dangerous. Then you just hit the play button. Bro, my heart is beating fast.
As soon as I heard that weird voice, it freaked me out. I put my hands over my ears and left the room, and Yoko followed after me. We waited in the bathroom until it was over. I can't remember what the story was about, but I do recall that it was very short. It seemed more like a poem than a story, but it didn't rhyme. When we came back in, Emmy had a strange look on her face. "See? Nothing happened," she said. Not long after that, we decided to go to bed because we were very sleepy. Emmy got into her bed and I lay down on the futon beside Yoko. We turned up the lights and went to bed. I always have trouble sleeping when I stay in someone else's house, and in the middle of the night I was awoken by the strange sound of Emmy making small noises in her sleep. It sounded as if she was having a bad dream. I shook Yoko to wake her up. "Maybe Emmy shouldn't have read that story before going to bed," I mumbled. I tried going back to sleep, but Emmy's moans became louder. Then, she started talking in her sleep. "How did you find me?" she muttered. I nudged Yoko and we both lay there, staying really still and listening to her. "How did you know?" she muttered. I didn't know if she was talking in her sleep, but the tone of her voice was very clear. I turned to Yoko, wondering what the hell has happened. Yoko said, "Must be a weird nightmare." Just as she said that, Emmy suddenly got out of bed The way she moved was jerky, like a puppet. When I saw that, a cold chill ran down my spine. Emmy had her back to us, and her head was hanging down. Her long black hair was covering her face. She just stood there, facing her bed, moaning softly. Slowly, very slowly, she began to turn around. Just then, Yoko flew into a panic. "That's not Emmy," she hissed. Emmy was still slowly turning. Yoko was staring at her, her eyes wide in fright. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't turn away. I was trembling uncontrollably. In the dim light, I could make out Emmy's face as she turned. It was her face, but somehow it also wasn't. Her skin was pale and her eyes bugged out abnormally. Her mouth was distorted and twisted into an evil grimace. It wasn't Emmy.
Oh my God. Yep, I'm not going to sleep tonight for sure. Y'all will be getting this video ASAP because I'm not going to be able to go to sleep.
It was as if her face had been mixed in with the face of someone else. As if someone else was pretending to be her. In a voice that didn't sound human, she whispered, "I want to know how." I don't remember what happened after that. I think I passed out. When I woke up, it was morning. Yoko was lying on the futon beside me. But on the bed, there was just a discarded pair of pajamas. There was no sign of Emmy anywhere. We ran downstairs, but the house was empty. We were really freaked out, and the events of the night before were fresh on our minds. Yoko and I grabbed our bags and left as soon as we could. We tried calling Emmy on her mobile, but it was out of range. We tried again and again that afternoon, but it was always out of range. Later that evening, we called her home phone, and her mom answered. She didn't know where Emmy was either. Yoko and I became more and more scared. We texted all of her friends, but none of them had heard from Emmy. It was as if she had dropped off the face of the earth. Emmy's parents went to the police and filed a missing persons report, and they started a search for Emmy. Most people thought that she'd just run away from home. Nobody could find any trace of her. The police came to question myself and Yoko, but there was nothing much that we could tell them. We both knew that Emmy didn't run away from home. One day, Yoko came over to my house. We got on my laptop and searched the internet for the scary website Emmy had been reading. With trembling fingers, Yoko clicked on that link. A notice came up on the screen. "This story has been removed," it read. "Do not try to find it. It is too dangerous." We searched through the website, but we couldn't find it. Ever since then, I've had trouble sleeping. I'm scared even when I wake up. Who knows if I'll still be here.
Jesus Christ, Ed.
Life's full of little accidents.
Why?
And Hyundai Tucson's lane keeping assist can help
Why?
make sure they stay little.
What was the point? I saw that coming and it
My name
still
is
scared the
Kyle.
crap out of me. Why would y'all do that? Bruh.
I'm 24 years old, and this story happened to me only recently. One night I spent around 45 minutes to an hour tossing and turning in bed trying to get sleep. I eventually gave up and got up to go to the living room. I laid down on the couch and started flicking through television channels. Eventually I stumbled across a documentary about the dark web. After 10 minutes of watching it, I went from laid down on the couch feeling groggy and tired, to sat up and hooked on the documentary. From that point for the next week or so, I spent a lot of time looking up things on the dark web, watching videos on YouTube about it, reading articles online, and if I can watch TV shows about it. Eventually I wanted to visit the dark web myself. I have a friend who is a computer wizard, and I know he has visited the dark web at least a few times. So one night I asked him to come around and help me get it set up. He installed the Tor browser on my computer, told me how to access the dark web, and what sites to avoid. Every day for almost a week I went on the dark web and explored all the dark and gritty parts of the internet. The one thing I never did on the dark web, however, was interact with anything. What I mean by this is, I never bought anything. I never messaged anyone or anything like that. I only observed. One thing my friend told me was, always turn your webcam away or cover it with something. which I always did. I live across the country for my work, so I often use a webcam to Skype with family and friends. One night I finished Skyping with my parents, then went on the dark web. I was visiting a website that sold weapons such as knives, guns, explosives, and other things, along with hard drugs. I was scrolling down the site just seeing what was being sold when I heard something. I couldn't make out what it was at first. It sounded like a voice saying something. I stopped what I was doing to listen more closely, and then I heard in a distorted, deep voice say, "I can see you." I instantly looked at my webcam and realized I forgot to turn it off and turn it away. I turned off my webcam and went to close down the site I was looking at, but my mouse froze. I couldn't move it. I started pressing buttons on my keyboard, but my computer wasn't responding to any of it. The voice then said, "Let's see what you're looking at." Then the site started scrolling down and clicking on items on the site. Whoever this guy was now controlling my computer remotely. I still didn't say anything. I was too afraid, thinking the guy would hear me.
I would have shattered my computer. Completely shattered it. Have you ever been like playing a video game where like some people, like I played 2K one time, and I actually slowed this dude. I was just turning to playing 2K. This dude literally said my address. I was freaking out. Bruh,
The man then
this is not
said,
cool.
"You know what? I will buy these items for you, my friend." He then started clicking and purchasing things like guns and drugs of all sorts. At that point I shouted, "Please stop! I don't want anything." The man replied, "Are you sure?" while letting out a sinister laugh. I then replied saying, "No, I want nothing at all. Please leave me alone." My computer then went black. It didn't seem switched off. Just the screen went dark. A message popped up saying, "Your items will be delivered soon. Thank you for your purchase." Then my computer turned off. I started to panic. Eventually I calmed myself down, thinking it was probably just someone messing with me.
What am I saying?
At Nelson Mazda, we are here to give you the most comfortable buying experience possible. At Nelson Mazda.
Shut up.
Still, I was worried and was very nervous going back online. After about 2 days, I eventually went on my computer, and everything as far as I knew it was fine. I even got my friend to check it out to make sure it was okay. He said it was probably just a hacker playing a joke of some kind. The next day I get home from work and I found my front door to my apartment was slightly ajar. I nervously opened it thinking I had been broken into. The only thing I noticed, however, was a parcel sitting on my computer desk. I instantly knew what it was. What could have been in that box was racing through my mind. A gun, a bomb, a human head. I sat there for ages thinking about what I should do. I thought about calling the police, but at that same time, I didn't want to. The sites I was accessing weren't exactly legal, and whatever could be in that box certainly wasn't legal either. I eventually took up the courage to look what was in that parcel. Surprisingly, the box was empty, except a note sitting at the bottom. All it read was, "You said you wanted nothing." My heart sank in my stomach, yet somehow I felt relief. This was over a month ago. I haven't been on the dark web since, and I haven't received any new packages.
So I live in the UK and am a 21-year-old female. I run a B&B and am pretty used to having to make weirdos feel welcome. However, they are mostly harmless at the end of the day. But last week's experience was by far the worst and most terrifying. It all started on the Monday night of last week. It was the end of summer break, so a lot of tourists were traveling around my area, so it was good business for the B&B. Staying in one of the 7 rooms, I had a foreign couple and their baby. In another room, 2 girls who had traveled from Australia, and in the attic room I had a lone man, who, to be honest, I got bad vibes from at the very beginning of meeting him. He was tall, had long greasy hair, dirty unkempt fingernails, and altogether he just looked very disheveled. He didn't really talk much either. He just asked what room he would be staying in, walked in there, and shut the door behind him. Still nothing too out of the ordinary, in my opinion. Unfortunately, it didn't stop there. Now, I spend most of my time in my personal hobby room. I mostly watch TV for a lot of the days and then go upstairs to my bedroom to sleep. I climbed the tall staircase and went to my room. I checked my alarm clock, and it was only 9:30 p.m., so I thought I might just lie down and watch some videos on my computer. Halfway through watching my favorite movie, I was interrupted by loud knocking on my door. It wasn't an average knock, though. It was very aggressive. I looked at the people in the door and was surprised to see it was the strange man who was staying in the attic bedroom. I opened up the door and he started talking straight at me, not letting me get a word in, telling me that the water pipe in his room had burst and that there was water spurting everywhere and that he wanted me to fix it. I apologized to him and without questioning anything, let him lead me to his attic room. The first red flag was the fact that he shut the door and locked it behind him. The next thing was that there was no water anywhere. And then I remembered there were not actually any water pipes in the attic. I don't know how I forgot, but I guess I was more worried about the guy asking for a refund than actually questioning whether he was being legitimate about the whole pipe burst thing. But now I was stuck. The only other people who were staying at the B&B were 2 floors below me, so they would never be able to hear me scream. I'm also a small woman, so I had no chance of being able to fight off this guy. I looked at him, and he shot me a yellow grin. He lurched for me, but I leapt out of the way. I noticed something sticking out of his jacket pocket. It was a knife handle. I pretty much ripped it out of his pocket and started swiping at the air with it. I bolted out of there and heard him running at top speed behind me until we got to the 2nd floor, where I heard him running back up to his room. I locked myself in my room and called the police department. I also called all the other guests on their landlines and told them to lock their doors and stay in their rooms. When the police arrived, they found the man hiding in the wardrobe in his room. I guess he freaked out when he heard the sirens. Apparently, he had only had one backpack. It contained a toothbrush, duct tape, a Stanley knife, a Phillips head screwdriver, and some intimate things which I can't even write down, but I'm sure you can guess what I'm talking about. They never found out for sure what he had planned on doing to me, but from the contents of his bag, we all had a very good idea. They took him away in cuffs, and thankfully I've never had to see him again. I plan on moving away at some point soon because I don't really feel comfortable with him knowing where I live. Also, every day I just see the grin he gave me as he was taken away, and his wild eyes.
Bro, after every story, it's a whole ad, bro.
This software has a simple and intuitive interface, which involves the least learning curve. It not only includes all the basic video editing functionalities.
Skip.
My name is Ashlyn, and this story happened 3 years ago. I lived in an apartment in New York on the 1st floor. I work as an adult film actress and frequently get admirers. One day, this guy who frequently tipped me on my OnlyFans messaged me. He asked the basic questions. Where are you from? Do you like what you do? How old are you? Sometimes I only answer one question, or I won't answer at all if I get a weird vibe. After answering shortly, I continue with my day. I later checked my phone and noticed I had 100 notifications from all my social medias from the same guy who messaged me earlier. He was angry. He messaged me things like, "I pay you so much money. You need to answer me now." So I blocked him on everything. If the story stopped there, this wouldn't be a horror story, would it? 2 weeks later, my grandfather died and I had to attend his funeral in Bosnia. I posted on my social media about my travels. Stupid, I know. But I was excited to be in my home country. When I returned home, I had this weird feeling like I was being watched. I frequently watch horror animations, so I kind of became a paranoid but very safety-conscious person. I went room to room checking with my gun in hand. I really felt something was off, so I opened my...
I need me a girl like this. Who's smart enough to go around and look, but not look without no type of protection. I'm just gonna look around my house real quick. I'm feeling bad, bro. At least she's strapped, bro.
front door and closed it without actually leaving. Standing there quietly, I heard rustling in a room. I point my gun as I slowly see a man coming from my film room closet. I yell, "Stand still! Hands in the air, I'll shoot!" A man with greasy long hair, dressed in all black with bloodshot eyes, stood before me. I told him if he moved a muscle while I called the cops, I'd shoot. He starts crying, pleading with me, saying, I just want to be with you. I'm in love with you. You need to be with me. My male neighbor heard everything and came in taking the greasy man down. The police arrived, and as they took the man into custody, they searched my house. They told me he was in my film room, hiding in a crawl space. They found his bag in there with food and drinks scattered around. There was ropes, knives, various chemicals, and my underwear. He confessed that he'd been following me and had taken over 2,000 pictures of me for over a week, and allegedly, that wasn't the first time he was in my home. During the court case, he kept staring at me and smiling at me. As I was escorted out by a police officer, a woman approached me with a note, and the officer took it. It read, "This isn't the end." She was taken in for questioning. It chills me to the bone knowing he was in my house without me knowing. He's currently in prison, and I have a restraining order. I also moved and updated my security. I now live with an armed bodyguard. Please be safe if you're a woman, especially one in this industry.
Man, you think a dude can get OnlyFans?
Are you looking for a simple and
These
powerful
girls
video
make some
editing
big
tool?
bands.
Why not try Filmora Video Editor? It's an all-in-one video
I
solution
do
that
OnlyFans. I don't know what I'm gonna post, but hey, them girls making big bands, no cap.
My name is Alice, and this story happened a month ago. I work at a movie theater in my local town where I work late evenings and some late nights. It's quite a small theater where you buy everything at one counter, like food, tickets, and that sort of thing, because it was never busy. It was a Friday night around 10:30 p.m.
Bro, that background movie got me spooked, bro. These animations are way too good. I'm going to be watching this all week. No
There were only
cap.
a few movies left to see, and as usual, it was pretty dead at this time. It was just me and another staff member, but they were in the screens cleaning up. I was leaning with my back against the counter scrolling through Twitter, when I thought I heard something behind me. I turned around to see a man standing there watching me. I startled and let out a slight laugh, saying, "Oh, it made me jump." The man gave no response and continued watching me. He was wearing a red hoodie, blue jeans, had black stubble, and was wearing a Boston Red Sox hat. My smile started to fade as I said, "How can I help you?" "One ticket to Annabelle and a medium hot dog, please." I went to get him his hot dog. As I was waiting, I could just feel him staring at me. I took a quick glance to check, and yeah, he was watching me still, with that dead expression. First, I was just feeling awkward.
I watch people when I go to the movie too. Y'all better put all the butter I want on that thing. This stuff is not cheap. If I say I want a hot dog with all the fixings, you better not skip on nothing. If I want popcorn with all the fixings, you better hit it with the butter, the salt, and everything. That thing better be delicious. Like $7 a bag of popcorn. Y'all tripping.
Now I was feeling uncomfortable. I gave the man his hot dog and ticket. He looked at me with a confused face. "Can I help you with anything else, sir?" He replied saying, "I thought I said I wanted onions." Certain he never asked, but I said, "Oh, sorry, give me a second." I went to put onions on the man's hot dog, but when I turned around, he was gone. I scanned the seating area. I couldn't see him anywhere. In fact, I didn't see him for the rest of the night. The next day I went into work and my boss, Natalie, who was also a good friend of mine, said she needed to show me something in the security room. She showed me footage of last night's recordings. I couldn't see anything at first. Nat then asked me, "Do you know that guy?" "What guy?" I replied. She then pointed at a man who was hiding around the corner spying on me. It was the same weirdo from last night. He was just hiding behind the counter watching me. I felt sick knowing the fact I had no idea this man was just watching me for ages. Nat then showed me another clip from the same night. It was when my back was against the counter on the phone. The man stood behind me like I knew, but after watching the security footage, he was stood right behind me watching me for about 10 minutes without saying a word. My boss Nat said to tell her if he comes by again. It's been a month and I haven't seen him around. Yet.
Bruh. Okay,
Hello there. Are you sleeping on a Nectar mattress or are you sleeping on a piece of garbage? Not sure? Simply ask your brain. Research.
I've been married to my husband Bruce for 4 years, and we are best friends. We've always got along with each other, and we rarely fight. We have 2 kids, a girl named Lauren, who's 14, and another girl, Valerie, who's 10 years old. We've been in the same house for about 3.5 years, and we never thought of moving. I got home one day with great news. I've had the same job for 10 years, and just got a promotion. My husband was still at work, so I waited for Lauren and Valerie to come home, since school had just ended. I told Lauren first, because it would be easier for her to understand as compared to Valerie. "That's great news, Mum!" Lauren cheered. "I know. Took them long enough to see my full potential." I laughed and walked into the kitchen, until my last step almost went through the door. What the? The floorboard was breaking. "Lauren, can you please come over here?" "Yeah, what's up?" "Can you get the hammer, please?" "Sure." Lauren handed the hammer to me, and watched me pry open the floorboard. It was opening up until this waft of terrible odor came up. It was so gross, and Lauren was coughing. "Mom, ew, gross, what's that?" "I don't know. Go get the flashlight. There's probably a couple of dead animals down here." I grabbed the flashlight from her and looked through a small hole in the floor. I couldn't see anything except bags, so I called an exterminator. Luckily for us, he came over right away. He opened up the floor a lot more, and I saw the most disturbing thing ever. Those bags were actually body bags. The exterminator was horrified, and that's when he asked me what my husband's name was. "Are you serious? My husband's not capable of this." But I told him his name anyway, and he took this information to the police for me. My husband came back home after the exterminator and I took out the bodies and hid the smell with a lot of Febreze. The police contacted me 2 days later and
For a breeze, nigga? For corpses?
told me that my husband had been a serial killer 4 years ago, and he's still occasionally doing that. They also said they're coming over right now to arrest him. I thanked the police and hung up. Scared, I turned around to see my husband at the doorway, standing there, not saying a word. We stood there staring at each other until he charged me. I picked up the mini lamp on the desk, hit him, and ran to Lauren and Valerie. I locked all of us into Lauren's room, away from Bruce. We called the cops to see if they'd left, and then waited. The police will be here in 2 minutes. Valerie was asking all these questions, and Lauren was crying. It got me even more scared, and I started to cry as well. I heard a banging sound in the door, and Valerie screamed. Then I heard the police sirens go out. My anxiety was kicking in, and I started to have a panic attack. There were bangings on the door, with someone yelling, "It's okay, we got him." I slowly walked to the door and opened it. The police breathing hard, and they had a scared expression on their face. "You didn't get him, did you?" I loved him with all my heart, but I knew I was going to leave him anyway, after everything he had done. "No, ma'am, I'm sorry, he took off." We went into the police car to talk to some people, so that they could get a better understanding of the situation. To this day, I wonder how I didn't figure out sooner that he was a serial killer.
Don't overpay for Best Buy. WikiBuy can save you money. It's a browser extension that automatically applies coupon.
So many ads. Yeah, that's something. But I just want to say thanks for watching. If y'all want to see some more like this, please leave a comment. Please leave a like or something, and I will try to get y'all more. But next time, I really want to do something like a little more upbeat, like a try not to laugh or something like that. But I have been liking these type of videos lately, and keep it a band, they are actually pretty funny in my opinion. But I will see y'all when I see y'all. And don't forget to join the gang. Kale Squad, Best Squad. We coming up there. And we might be a little slow right now, but we coming up there. I will see y'all next time. We out.
Everybody know I'm next. Ooh, everybody know I'm next. Ooh, 100,000 on my neck. Ooh, I be running up a check. Ooh, I be fucking on your ex. Ooh, everybody.